Mother couldn't believe what happened when she attended her son's graduation instead of her own. Every family is different when it comes to what's important. For some, when it comes to education, certain people believe that it is the most important thing for anybody to pursue, and why not? Many people have had to give up the opportunity to continue their education as a result of becoming a parent and not getting enough support, so they decide to put that part of their lives on hold. However, that doesn't mean to say that the opportunity is lost, and many parents realize that as their children get older. Being a parent isn't always easy, and it sometimes means having to put your own thing aside so that you can be there for your kid. Naturally, some things are more important than others, but there are just some things you can't miss if you can help it, like your child's graduation ceremony. However, what if your own graduation ceremony is happening at the same time? It's not uncommon that some parents decide to go back into education when their kids begin their own school journey. It's a moment in time where teenagers can fend for themselves, and they're at the age where they don't want help anyway, sometimes no matter how hard you try. It also sets a great precedent in a way, since they'll be an active role model when it comes to doing your work. It's a tough decision, but sometimes you just have to make it, or you'll be waiting forever. This mom took the plunge and drove straight into education, working on getting her bachelor's degree at the same time as her son. It's a tough decision deciding to do a degree. They're not cheap and they're not easy to obtain. However, she knew her son worked hard and she was ready to work just as hard to get her degree as well. This mom was prepared to take anything on and be there for her children too. In many ways, they would keep her going too. However, she had no idea that she would literally be at the same milestone as her son, Stephen. Both Mom Sharonda and her son Stephen had been working hard for many years. In fact, Stephen had been working on his bachelor's for 5 years. Working side by side for several years, both had finally made it to the point where they could graduate. All that was left was the ceremony, which is a major part and an incredibly commemorative experience for those who participate. It's the end to a tough journey and a celebration of everything you have achieved. However, sometimes things don't always work out as well as they could, and Sharonda was about to be faced with some disappointing news. Sharonda was no doubt ecstatic that her son Stephen would finally be graduating and she wouldn't miss it for the world. However, Sharonda found out the date for her graduation, and when she did, her heart dropped. It turned out that her graduation was arranged for the same date and time as her son's. This was devastating. Sharonda had worked so hard to get where she was. She had dreamed of having her family watch her as she graduated. While this was important for her, she had already made up her mind. She was a mom, and she knew that she was going to attend her son's graduation rather than her own. She was a proud mom, and nothing was going to hold her back. However, that didn't stop a part of her from being upset that she would not ever get to graduate officially after working so hard. However, as far as she knew, nothing could be done, and she had to forget about her own wants now. Sharonda had watched her son work so hard at Central Michigan University that she wasn't going to miss it for the world. She had supported him by promoting his recitals on her Facebook and made sure people knew where to find her son. Stephen was studying musical theater, which is incredibly competitive, but he seemed to thrive along with his classmates. However, when Stephen got the news that his mom couldn't attend her own graduation, he was beside himself. Sharonda and Stephen are incredibly close, so when Stephen found his mom couldn't attend her own graduation and he wouldn't be able to cheer her on from the crowds, he was also devastated. He didn't know what he could do to help either. However, the two knew they were faced with an unfair situation. They also knew there was nothing they could do about it. They just had to wait for graduation day and make the best out of a bittersweet situation. Their luck was about to change, with nothing less than a social media post. Naturally, the upset son took to Facebook in order to express how upset he was that they were in this situation. Especially as this didn't just affect him, but other family and friends, who were happy for them both. However, everyone on his friends list could see the post, and one of those friends worked in the office of President Davies at Central Michigan University as a student worker. They decided to share the story with the president of the university. It was graduation day. Stephen had his cap and gown ready, and he was more than prepared to graduate. Sharonda was proud of her son, and while she did not put on her own cap and gown, she was excited to watch as her son walked down the aisle and received his certificate. The two took their places. Stephen prepared to graduate like every other student, and Sharonda prepared to watch on as the ceremony took place. Little did they know that someone behind the scenes had organized something that would surprise them both. Neither mother nor son knew what was coming next. As the two had accepted the situation life put them in. However, sometimes miraculous things happen for the better, as someone had arranged a surprise for the pair of them. Some wanted to give them both a memory of a lifetime, and they had no idea up until that very moment. It turns out that from the Facebook post and Stephen's friend working in President Davies' office, that a little behind-the-scenes magic had taken place. Once Davies had heard about what was happening, he quickly got in touch with a man called David Eisler. David Eisler is the president of Ferris State University, which is where Sharonda had studied for several years. It was also where she was supposed to graduate. The two came up with a plan that would surprise both Stephen and Sharonda. Ari Harris, who was a spokesperson for CMU, explained how quickly it all came together once the two presidents got in touch. They knew that this was a big moment for both mother and son and wanted to make sure both of their students got the recognition they deserved. Their plan was going to be a total surprise if they could pull it off. According to Ari Harris, the whole thing was a very fast turnaround as they had to act quickly to make it work. Both Stephen and Sharonda had no idea that they would be graduating together until the very last moment. Every detail was perfect and well thought out. Sharonda was handed a graduation cap of her own. This probably confused her at first. After all, shouldn't that be handed to her son? However, it started to become clear that things weren't going the usual way, and, actually, Sharonda didn't have to totally sideline her achievement at all. While no one was more shocked than Sharonda, it was her son Stephen who erupted in tears of joy knowing that his mom hadn't had to give up everything. He couldn't stop a part of himself from feeling guilty before, but now he knew she would have this moment to remember. Stephen and Sharonda are incredibly close, so sharing this moment with his mom was a memory he would cherish forever. Sharonda was handed a cap and was asked to stand. Both mother and son stood in front of the university president as he said the words that would change everything for them both. On behalf of both the Central Michigan University and Ferris State University, President Davies officially graduated Sharonda Wilson. Sharonda was instructed to move her graduation tassel from the right of her cap to the left of her cap to signify that she is officially graduated. Stephen lovingly touched his mom's cap as she moved it from right to left. There was nothing more heartwarming than watching a mother and son celebrate their hard-earned achievements together. But what was more tear-jerking was how emotional Stephen got for his mom. Her son had nothing but tears and gleeful grins as he figured out what was going on. It was like music to his ears. His mom had graduated with her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, while Stephen had finally achieved his Bachelor of Arts in Music Theater. Their moment had been documented forever. They had heard the crowds cheer for them as they both celebrated a milestone achievement. However, now it was time for Stephen to get on stage and show everyone what he was made of. It was an honor for Stephen to be chosen to sing in front of his fellow graduates and their parents, but it was something he had prepared for. He readied himself and prepared to blow everyone's minds. Stephen barely had time to prepare for what was to come, since it seemed everyone wanted to know about himself and his mom. However, at first he didn't have a moment to lose, as he was about to embark on the journey of a lifetime. He was going to the CMU School of Music Chamber to begin his multi-state musical tour. His dream is to do what he loves, and that's precisely what he did after graduation. After the event, people were keen to know how the mother and son felt about what had just happened. After all, this kind of thing doesn't happen every day. It was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. Stephen eventually returned and was more than happy to express himself. He explained that Davies had really shocked him. He never saw it coming. However, he's grateful to a friend of his for working her magic to make it happen. This was a collaboration of kindness to bring happiness to Sharonda and Stephen. Stephen goes on to say how his mother is the strongest and most compassionate woman that he knows. This is the voice of a son who truly adores his mother, and it's clear the two value each other and everything they do. Stephen goes on to say that the moment in particular actually tops any other moment that he has ever shared with her. The tears streaming down his face certainly support that. It's something they will never forget. Stephen didn't just earn the honor of graduating with his mom, but he's worked hard on other things throughout his college experience too. In a Facebook post, he explains to his friends that he was approached to co-author an essay. This is some seriously big news, and Stephen was able to co-author the essay Belonging, Theatrical Representation on a University Campus, which was selected for presentation at the annual SETC Theater Symposium. Any student knows what a high honor and tough task this would have been. Graduation is a celebration of all the hard work a student has done in order to achieve their degree. However, what comes next is just as daunting, if not more, than starting your first day at college. Stephen had worked so hard that he gained some serious recognition. He was offered his first professional acting contract at Charleston Stage in Charleston, SC. No doubt when Stephen got the news that he would have his first job lined up, he was stoked. People have praised the two universities for coming together and putting aside their differences to create this unforgettable moment. Not many colleges would have considered it important enough to talk about, let alone act upon. Both Sharonda and Stephen have taken their next steps with their lives, moving on to do what they wanted to do. They also have the most incredible memory to keep forever. This mom may have been willing to give up a special day, but in the end, she didn't have to.